Hello and welcome to Crop Roadshow. In this series, we'll discuss the history of 3 or more crop cultivars, starting with the history of the crop itself. Then I'll rank them for agronomic traits, which will be out of 3, disease resistance traits, which will be ranked out of 2, 1 for each major disease, and 2 points for historical breeding use and future breeding use. Let's begin. Now on to our first cultivar. The Seckel Pear is the only truly American variety of pear grown in North America. Unlike the other foundation stock pears, which are European in origin, they are said to have arisen from a wild seedling found near Philadelphia, discovered in the 1700s or 1800s, plausibly from German immigrants traveling westward through the area, dropping fruit or seeds behind them. Now on to the traits section. In 1968, Seckel was used by Dr. John R. Magnus to breed the first known fire blight resistant by crossbreeding Comice with Seckel. This variety of pear was called Magnus after himself. He also bred several other varieties of apple as well, like Jonah Gold and Spy Gold. Other pears that were bred include other Comice crossed with Seckel selections, and several other cultivars such as the Warren pear. Seckel seems to be the benchmark for fire blight resistance, with every pear trying to equal or exceed Seckel in terms of new breeding programs. This, in combination with its overall tendency to be disease resistant in general, makes this a very good disease-resistant plant, so I give it a 2 out of 2. For breeding use, it's already used as a primary source of fire blight resistance, and at least 2 cultivars have been bred from it, so I give this a solid 2 out of 2 as well. In terms of agronomic traits, it's less suited for the colder parts of Ontario, but otherwise it stores well, and seems to yield well as well. So for that reason, I give it a solid 2 out of 3 for a good 6 out of 3. Doyenne du Comice pear is the next pear on our hit list. It's considered one of the best flavored pears in France at the time, and in certain circles it's still considered the best pear to grow for flavor purposes. This cultivar was obtained from a garden in the town of Angers in the 1840s as a sapling. In 1848 it bore its first pears, which were quickly noted for their excellent flavor. And throughout the 1850s, this variety reached other countries such as the UK and United States. In 1894, it was deemed the best pear in the world, and to this day it's still commonly grown in France. Now on to the traits. In the process of breeding fire blight resistant pears, and pears with high levels of flavor, the Comice pear seems to be used extensively. Blake's Pride, and indeed Magnus and Warren were also bred using this cultivar. It seems to be very low on the disease resistance spectrum, being susceptible to scab, fire blight, and several other diseases. It is, however, resistant to an insect called codling moth. So from a breeding perspective or flavor, I would say a 2 out of 2. From a disease perspective, 0 out of 2, since it has almost no disease resistance. Luckily for us, that lack of disease resistance seems to be recessive to the strong disease resistance found in Seckel. In terms of agronomic considerations, it is prone to a disorder called stony pit, and is slow to bear, but the tree itself is vigorous, and crops reliably, so I give it a 2 out of 3. The fruit also stored pretty well, storing until January, after being harvested in October, which is pretty good. Now on to the next cultivar. At the advent of railways and refrigerated steamships, imports of apples and pears from the United States and Canada went into Europe and the UK. This happened in the late 1800s. The British fruit growers, in order to compete with the imports, began tinkering with breeding and searching for different seedlings that have been bred by different people. At this point, a different conference of apples and pears in 1888 was formed. It was here the chairman of this organization, Thomas Rivers, of the famed River Nursery in Sawbridgeworth, Hertfordshire, released his brand new cultivar of pear, which was named the Conference Pear. It was a mid-season dessert pear. The attempt to market this pear was a failure due to the widespread allure of apples, and a general lack of interest in pears. It was turned around, however, due to the fact that the pear itself was self-fertile, scab-resistant, and tolerant of poor conditions, and cropped heavily quite frequently. The first commercial orchard using this cultivar was in 1895, and survived until 1970. As of right now, the conference pear is a commercial crop in Spain and France, and the Netherlands and Belgium as well. 90% of British pear production is also of this conference variety. This unique cultivar is an open pollinate seedling of a Belgian culinary pear called Leon Lyric Lavelle. Now on to the traits. The conference pear has been used as a source of fire blight resistance in pear breeding. Indeed, at least one cultivar was bred from this breeding practice. As such, I give this a ranking of 2 out of 2 for disease resistance, and at least a 1 out of 2 for breeding use. It seems suitable for organic production, it yields well quite consistently, and pretty much grows anywhere, so I would give this a solid 3 out of 3 for agronomic features, for an overall 6 out of 7. And that about covers everything. Thank you for watching.